So this is Slashers, your new favorite podcast about your new favorite horror media. My name is Aid, and with me, as always, are my esteemed colleagues, co-hosts, and cohorts. My lovely Doug
Hey, mutant goons from beyond, I'm back, bringing you the dulce of dulces.
and our Jason, who's looking very Billy tonight.
I do really need a haircut. I'm looking at myself in the camera. I was like, it's getting too long. I need to just go. But the only closest place to me is Sports Clip. I feel like I'm getting my haircut at Hooters. It's so weird. I hate that place.
Well, Jason, it's a good look. Your camera's glitching out for your video viewers on YouTube, but he's like max headroom glitching out. So I don't know. You got the really like late '90s, like I'm cool. I got Junko jeans and my puka shell
Puka
glasses.
shell.
Oh
My
yeah,
rainbow sandals,
yeah.
flip flops. I'm sorry, flip flops. I don't know if you have those in Ohio. They were all the rage when I was in high school. Rainbow flip flops.
Oh yeah, no, we had the flip flops, and they were dress code for the longest time. The minute they took them off dress code, everybody had the damn flip flops on. I'm like, I don't care. I'm wearing flip flops until I die, and I
we,
still wear flip flops.
or you're in Florida. I mean, your state's not going to be there the next 50 years anyway, so you should enjoy the flip flops while you can.
hmm And then they turn into flippers later. So, oh,
Oh fuck yeah, I remember that.
Oh
So
man, 2000s. Everybody had to show their belly buttons too. Is that a thing? Has that come back to everybody showing their belly buttons for their
I, I
for
don't
their
think that's it.
shirt?
Yeah, that's like when Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys was big.
those early,
Yeah, the
yeah, early
2000s.
two
Yeah,
Yeah.
thousands. I just put a post in. It was a time capsule of like Paris Hilton, and
that's hot.
right, that's hot, and Nicole Richie,
Laguna Beach.
and I know, right? Like all the fun people, and who else? Oh, what's the redhead's name? Why can't I think? Redhead freckles, crazy, Lindsay
Lindsay
Lohan.
Lohan. Yeah,
Oh, you said
And
Paris Hilton was hot? That's like fucking Skeletor. I never thought she was
no, but
attractive.
she used to say that's hot.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
oh,
hot.
That's
I don't know if she ever
hot.
said it in her sex tape, but she said it in everything else.
oh, she probably said in her sex tape. The same one with Vern Troyer. You know, Vern Troyer had a sex tape.
I did not know
I've
that.
seen that.
Yeah, go to
I know.
Pornhub and just type it. It's kind of
I'm going
sad,
to.
actually. I feel bad for him. He's gonna get
Watching that.
sucked in
Oh
there.
my God. No, oh my God. But yeah, but that was the early 2000s. It was a early 2000s, which the film we're doing tonight was in the late 90s,
I think it came
which
out in
is
'98. I believe is when I
90.
saw it.
Hmm.
Yeah, 98, which, I think it's kind of relevant because this is almost to the time that we're getting with the early 2000s where it was a fucking like shit show. Like, and every outfit in the post that I posted, and Jason, I'm going to send you the link to that. Every outfit that Lindsay Lohan was wearing, I had that fucking outfit back in the early 2000s. And so I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, but no, we're not talking about early 2000s. We're talking about late 90s today. And today we are doing our Patreon member pick, our lovely Cam, whom we've had for so many years, who shows up to all of our watch parties, who is such a treasure and a wonderful person. And I absolutely adore her. And I talk to her all the time. Cam, we love you so much. Cam chose Strangeland.
Oh yeah, good choice too, because this is kind of one out of outfield. This is one that a lot of I mean, for me, I always remember this VHS at like a video store at Blockbuster. It was always there and it always made me curious to see it. And I did see it before this a while ago on VHS, but I didn't remember much of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, thanks, Cam. And by the way, every time I go to Target during Halloween, I see the Target ads call it hide and go eek. So I'm like, hey, that's Cam. So now when I go to Target during Halloween, I think of Cam because I see hide and go eek as their brand
Oh,
for Halloween stuff.
yeah, Cam's a ride or die. She's a ride or die mutant goon from beyond.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
vividly remember this movie in the video stores, but I never saw it until
Oh,
yesterday.
oh, you just watched it.
Yeah, this is the first time I ever saw it. I mean, I listened to the soundtrack because everybody had the soundtrack back in the day.
Yeah.
But I just never watched the movie. Even when I was like 12, I was like, nah, I'll get around to it. And I never got around to it until yesterday. Um, Please do not restart.
Oh no, we're not going to restart on you. By the way, like I said, for you video viewers out there, if you want a glimpse into D. Snyder's vision of what the
Yes.
internet looks like, just look at Jason's webcam.
Jason has taken us back to 1998 with not only his hair, but the fact that and usually Jason's iPad is top notch. So I don't know what's going on today.
I don't know what's
Maybe
going on with it either.
Maybe
It's
the baby put it in the toilet or something.
don't say that. I hope that's not the case.
You got to clean the jizz out of the charging port. That's what happens.
Ugh.
This is a rated X episode now. Thank you, Doug.
Oh, okay. And I mean, you got to clean the gelatin out of the.
No, so anyways, like, so it's like this whole thing with 1998 because we were all alive during 1998, and this is what I want to. I'm sort of hosting this episode today because I want to keep it on track because I think this is like and I talked to you guys the other day that this film is a time capsule, right?
Yes.
Oh, it certainly is. Absolutely. It played on everybody's fears like, oh no, the other guy behind the screen is the serial murderer and he's going to kill you. Which, by the way, his pickup line was, do you like hip hop? And that's all it took to get him to his house. Did y'all notice that?
Yeah. Do you like hip hop? And I'm like,
It's like, is that all it's like? I never did any
no.
online dating really, so I don't know if maybe everybody starts sliding to everybody's Tinder DMs and be like, do you like hip hop? All right, time to go have some sex, I guess. What a pickup line. Like, I'm not saying she deserved to get what happened to her, but she probably should have at least thought about things a little bit.
Well,
Well,
her dad didn't really care who plays the detective.
Right.
oh my God. So we'll get into that in a minute because there's a lot of problems that I have with this. But then I also chalk it up to the fact that, too, this was new technology. All of this was very new. And so maybe there wasn't any kind of protocol to how to handle, because I like, we're all talking about this. So back in the day when you wanted to go online, for those of you who are very young listening, your internet had to be plugged into the phone. And you had to go on to America Online. I mean, I guess you could have went on regular internet, but
There's
everybody
like
had
Netscape. I
AOL.
mean, there was like AOL and Netscape. There were a couple internet providers
And you had to
back
use
in those days.
those free CDs that I used to grab those free
Yeah,
CDs and chuck them like frisbees.
you had to put the CD in the computer, and it would make that like noise like every fucking time. So you couldn't get on the internet in the middle of the night because your fucking parents would hear you. Like,
Yeah. Or heaven forbid, like a family member picked up the phone and that would just completely crash your computer.
oh my God. And my dad used to always do that shit to me because I'd be online chatting. And back in the day, it was July 617. And I'd be on my little, chat.
What was your ASL?
So my ASL, and we're gonna go around the room, and I don't know if Doug might be too young for this, but my ASL, and I always lied about this because I was always younger, but I was either 16 or 17, obviously still female, but I lived in Cocoa Beach because I lived in Orlando and I was afraid of telling people I lived in Orlando because they would come kill me. So I
Oh
told
yeah.
everybody I like this film. I told everybody that I lived in Cocoa Beach.
You tell everybody you live in Jacksonville or Gainesville. But nobody goes to Gainesville or Jacksonville unless you're Tim
nobody goes
Tebow.
there. I mean, then nothing happens in Gainesville. Like, come on. So
That's where old people go to die, isn't it?
That's
Well,
Florida.
no.
That's just Florida in general.
It's Florida. It's Florida State, so the college is there, but that's about it. Like nobody fucking cares about Gainesville. Like unless you go to UF.
It's weird. I know we're only a few years apart, but what the fuck is an ASL? I use
sex, location. Okay.
age. Oh, that's what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
So back in the day, for those of you who don't know, you would have, just like in the film, there'd be a long chat room and all these people would be in there and everybody would be talking. Like, and you're talking to one person, but you just see what everybody wrote.
And that's typing, not talking in person. You have to type the stuff out because you didn't have voice chat like this movie had later.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck was that? Like, that was like some new age shit because
Yeah.
like that happens now, but not back then. That was not a thing. And I wanted to talk about that too.
Sure.
But you would say ASL, and that was age, sex, location. So when you met someone, and then you would privately go chat with them what was that called, Jason?
Just instant messaging.
Instant message.
Just IM, yeah. Which is, I mean, that's not too different, but yeah, that's similar now.
And just like in the film, when they go do the little private thing, that was called an instant message. And that's what you would do. So you would be like, you would like kind of sit in there and like fuck around with people. You'd find a guy. That's what I used to do. You'd find a guy who talked about something that you liked. And then you'd be like ASL, and then everybody would put it.
Did you ever meet the people that you talked to in the chat room in person?
No, but I used to have like guys that I would talk to on a regular basis. Like 3 different guys who thought I was much older than I was.
But how would you know it's not like some morbidly obese guy sweating syrup and nachos and slapping his fat Cheeto stained fingers on the keyboard, going, "Yeah, I'm a 20."
We didn't know. But the beauty of it was that you never had to meet. I think it was a lot easier to hide who you were, so they really couldn't find you unless you gave them too much information. And I knew better than to give real information. My name was Veronica too. My name was not
Veronica.
My name was Veronica, yeah. Veronica from Cocoa Beach.
Yeah, it was a whole lot easier to be anonymous back in the early days of the internet. Now, and of course, everybody puts all their information on the internet at all,
Yeah.
and then like this is kind of your parents would always tell you not to give your information out. Don't believe everything you see on the internet because there's dangerous people out there. Now, that same generation believes everything they see on Facebook. So it's so weird how they were like so like being wary of the internet back in those days, but now they just hook, line, and sinker everything they see on the internet now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was easy to just be anybody who you wanted to be on the internet back in the late 90s, early 2000s, before MySpace became a thing.
Yeah.
Then everybody would just put all of their information constantly.
And pictures. And I think the pictures were a big thing, right, Jason? Because
yeah.
like especially like with the film, like their biggest thing was like, oh, let's go look at his profile. Oh, he's a cool guy. Like
Did you
there's no
see his quote?
picture.
Did you see his quote, by the way?
What was it?
Dude,
It was
where's
like-
the kegger?
Oh yeah, where's like, oh, this is a Chad before
and
Chad.
she goes, oh, see, he's a cool guy.
And his occupation was student. Duh.
Duh. And then when it said 1978, I go, oh, he's so old. And then I forgot, oh, this was 98. So he would have only been 20.
Yeah, babyface Linda Cardellini and Amy Smart. I did not know Amy Smart was in this movie, so that was a big surprise.
I forgot she was in this movie.
That's the lady who's in Rat Race too, right?
Yeah, the blonde.
Yeah,
She's
the blonde,
in Shameless. I guess the most recently out there
Shameless.
was in Shameless.
Shameless. She plays a really good, like very, what is it? The word I'm looking for? Like poor white girl, but I don't want to say that.
Poor white girl works.
Borracho.
But she's telling her uncle how the internet works. It's just pretty hilarious. Like,
but she's sitting in like those overalls, like those Oshkosh Bagosh ones. She's like, and you could do this, and you could sit there, and you could tell him you play guitar. Oh, tell him you like to shred. Tell him you like to go snowboarding.
but that's how it was. Like people said stupid shit back then. So let's backtrack a little bit. So the film that we're talking about today is Strangeland. Tagline: want to come to a party? Apparently this worked for people back then, but it did, because I remember I used to talk to people. I never met anyone. I never, like, I think that's where the you draw the line, because I know that a lot of people went missing. A lot of girls got assaulted because they would go and meet these people, right? I didn't.
Remember there was a sister episode all about it.
Yeah. Sister.
Yeah, one of the twins went to somebody trying to get that was a modeling gig, and he was not what he was supposed to be.
Were you trying to have him like finger himself in the garage or something?
This was a very young.
It was a very long time ago, and that's the thing. It's that, I think that they needed those episodes and those shows like that, because this was uncharted territory. And when you watch, for those of you, especially the younger people watching Fear Street 94, AOL didn't come out until when?
It's like 97. I remember that was the biggest gripe they played. And also the song that they were playing was like a song that came out after this movie was based on, like that was
late 90s.
Yeah.
So well, unless you're in Ohio, technology gets 2 years back. I don't remember even doing AOL instant messaging till like 2001 or 2.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So it depends on, it's also regional, right? Because I think I was actually reading something that, like, the bigger cities like California and like New York City and everything. I was reading an article about Stranger Things, that the Hawkins kids who moved to California in the newest episode, they looked in the older styles because you only knew what was in style based on magazines and based on the information that you got. So like California and like all of the port cities had all of the newest information, newest trends, because they were up to date. Whereas all of which would have been Doug, I don't want to say middle America. What is it called? Midwest.
Flyover states.
Yeah, all of those middle states that I never go to, because why would I? I love you, Doug. And like, you know what I mean? They were just stuck in a time capsule. And so my school keeps calling me. I think a shooting happened or something. I hope not. We had a gun scare at Wakaiba recently. Anyways, I'm
Oh.
not answering. I'm not fucking answering that call. I'm telling
We
you
got
that.
important things, okay?
Yeah, we got important things
Like
to do.
talking
Tell,
about
Talking
D.
about
Snyder's
Strangeland.
Strangeland. Okay.
tell him
Exactly.
Captain Howdy's
Captain
on.
Howdy, I'll send him to the kids. Anyways, so with I think it's also like obviously regional thing. So if you weren't used to those things, like the only reason I had access to chat rooms and the internet was because one of my friends in 5th grade had the internet and had a computer and had a printer, and I would go to her house and we'd get online and would fuck around in chat rooms, and that's what we did.
Was
Like
it
it
a
was so much
Gateway
fun.
2000? That big cow computer.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
it was
I
a
remember
big.
that.
You
Yeah.
remember? It was like a big thing, and that was so much fun. And like her parents were the parents who had like burned videotapes, like they knew how to like bootleg movies and shit. So like they had all the technology, right? Like I didn't have it in my house. Like I didn't have a computer until 6th grade. We finally got a computer, and then my dad would use it to watch porn. He would save it to the computer because that's how stupid he was.
Well,
So if you opened up
how was the
random
porn he was
files on the
watching? It was
computer,
like a little thing like that.
they were pictures. So he would download them and save them to the computer, and guess who would find them? Me and my fucking brother. Like that's how dumb my father was. That didn't even realize like you click on an email and you download the picture, and that's how it would get in the computer. But your download save on your computer.
Why does
But
that guy have a
nobody.
shrimp on his leg?
Well, yeah, and oh my god, it was so bad. Like one time I opened up something and my dad saw it and he came running from across the apartment to shield the tiny little fucking.
No.
And I'm
Well,
thinking to myself, why is it on my computer?
well, when I die, I want this. This is the song that's gonna play when I ascend to heaven. Hold on, let's get it here. All this talk about computers here. Well, now it doesn't want to work. Remember this? You don't remember that?
I don't hear it.
You don't hear
Like
it.
we can't hear it. No,
I can't hear it. Still
nothing's
can't hear it.
playing, dear.
Oh no, it was the Windows 95 startup sound. I don't know why that didn't play.
Bring. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That. Yeah.
Oh my god. And that's one of the things with this film. So to get back on the movie, so Strangeland is a film written by Dee Snider and stars Dee Snider of Twisted Sister. So for those of you, a lot of people, and this is another thing that dates itself, like nobody knows who the fuck Dee Snider is. Well, they might know him now from Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Because Twisted Sister was in Cobra Kai.
He also gets famous for he calls out politicians who use his music for "We're Not Going to Take It" all the time on Twitter, which is hilarious.
So he has a good way of staying relevant, and and he's still in very good shape. Like for talking about Twisted Sister, we're gonna talk about them really quick. I feel like they have a couple of hits. I don't think they're. I mean, I'm sure more people know more, but this is before all of us, right? This was like hair metal 80s. But like the biggest thing that I remember was "We're Not Gonna Take It." Right?
Yeah, and "I Want to Rock" too.
Oh, "I Want to Rock," yeah. And so those are like their major hits. And Dee Snider was very like makeup, like very garish, like very drag queen looking.
Yeah.
But he was always in good shape, and he's still in good shape now. So I don't think he was one of those, and I assume this, I don't know anything about I don't give a shit. Because I'm not big on hair metal, y'all know this. Like I love metal, but hair metal, save for Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses, I could give two shits for. So
like you don't cry every time every Rose Has Its Thorns comes on the radio. Like you don't just immediately burst into tears.
Rose. I mean, I know that song, but no, fuck that band. Anyways, anyways.
Oh well, don't fuck them.
Well, no, well, yeah, no, I would fuck Tommy Lee, but that's a different story. Oh, is that?
That's Motley Crue. Oh, there we go.
I mean, yeah, because Tommy Lee is hot. Why not? Anyways, but like with Dee Snider, he's still fairly like he's not the most attractive looking guy, bless his heart, but he's still in good shape. He's still in good health. Like he doesn't look like fucking Vince Neil about to pop because he's so bloated and gross, like and just party too hard. He's not like decrepit, like and now we're talking about Motley Crue, but he's not decrepit. Like what's the guitar player's name that
Oh,
everybody
Nikki
loves.
Six.
Nikki Six, fuck him.
Well,
He's a
Danzig's
bad
falling apart too. At least he doesn't look like that.
No, and he's not Danzig. Like, so clearly D. Snyder, I don't think D. Snyder is an unintelligent person. Like, I think he took care of himself and I think he knows his shit because judging by the writing, if we're going to judge this movie by the writing alone, for his first thing, his first film is very ambitious. And he knew what he was doing. Like the Wikipedia, did you guys read the Wikipedia page for this film?
I read a good. Yeah, I read it. It's pretty crazy.
I
Whoever
thought it
the
was a
fuck
true story, to be honest. The way he
Yeah,
wrote it.
whoever wrote the Wikipedia page had some deep shit to say about this movie. And honestly, like I get it because it deals with like the modern primitive and there was a lot of themes that I caught from the film, and one of them was Dee Snider's character, Captain Howdy, saying was that people are just, and I'm just paraphrasing, that people will judge you by something, by how you look if it's different. If you don't conform, then you are automatically judged. And we can't be creative. We can't do anything with our bodies, which I thought was such a good and I never caught this before when I saw this movie back in the day. I didn't fucking know what was going on.
Which monologue was this? Which was about his 16th, 17th monologue? Was it?
Yes, his 17th exposition monologue where he's sewing Freddy Krueger's face shut. Yeah, that
It says
one.
quit being
Yeah.
a baby.
Yeah, if you like Head of the Family, or if you've seen Head of the Family, D. Snyder's like monologues remind me of the Myron from Head of the Family. He's like, most impressive, but the life will not go down. The salt of the grain of the earth through the mouth of the tongue is such an eloquent way to say yes. Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty interesting though, because they did. So to me, this movie is new metal, Silence of the Lambs. That's what this movie is. Um, I kept thinking that when I was watching this movie, I was like, you can tell this is somebody who had basically seen like Silence of the Lambs and Seven. I think it was what his reference point was. And he was just all these monologues. But I do think the modern primitive body modification stuff is an interesting hook. Get what I see what I did there. But overall, the movie just kind of like it's interesting. Of course, it's also a time capsule, like Ed was saying, from the early '90s when the internet was like new and fresh, and nobody knew exactly how it was going to go. At this point, it's kind of a net negative for the internet. Kind of a mistake, I feel like, in a lot of instances. But it's still like I didn't like this movie that much, but it does have some interesting things to it that I do like.
Well, I think if you watched it back in the day, so for those of you who don't know what it's about, it's about a detective pursues a sadist, quote sadist. Well, I guess he is a sadist. I don't know. I would have fucked him.
Of
A
course.
sadist. I know. I would have dated this guy. Like, I don't see what the problem is. I'm watching this. Like, what's the problem?
All I needed was his pills.
I know. If he has pills, he'd be fine. Specializing in body modification rituals who lures teenagers through the internet. And so this is why we keep talking about the internet, because this was in 98. So I really feel like it was a lot harder to, I guess, lure people in because all you see is a screen. I think now it's a lot easier to lure people in because you can give them you can talk to people through a lens. Like all of us are talking, like, yes, I've met Doug in person, but we still haven't met Jason in person. So who the hell knows what kind of person Jason is?
Yeah,
right?
You've only seen my face. You haven't seen anything other than my face. I could be just like maybe I'm in a wheelchair. You don't know.
We don't know. And he's in a closet all the time. We don't know. We
Maybe
don't
I'm
even
a
know if he has
puppet
a house.
and you've never seen my
Yeah.
maybe I'm a puppet.
Maybe that's why your mail won't get delivered to him, because outside he's like living in the club.
don't
There's people
exist.
hanging on hooks. So
saying, like, we don't know until we know, right?
Exactly.
But it's a lot easier now to believe people because we have these screens, because we can video chat, because we can talk. But back then, all you had was a chat room. And so basically he was luring teenagers in to his quote lair, which he had a nice fucking house, by the way.
I was wondering, what does this guy do? Did he owns the ball? But like, what's going on here? What does he do?
he was a tax consultant, I think.
No, I clicked at the end. Remember when they mentioned that the father was like a famous Marine?
Yeah.
So he probably had some kind of inheritance, right? And he was just living, which good for him in some shitty. Well, I mean, it's a crappy little town, and not crappy town, but this little shithole town in Colorado. It's not like the cost of living there was that great. They had the rednecks of Robert England there. Like it wasn't like they were progressive in any way, shape, or
I've also
form.
got to say, Robert England's spread eagle was fantastic.
Oh yeah, his cowboy boots and his ball sack hanging out.
I know him sitting like that. That's how Dan sits sometimes. And Dan comes in and he goes, "Is that Freddy Krueger?" I go, "Yeah." And your sits just like him when you're fucking little tidy whitey's watching PTI and ESPN over here. I'm like, oh my
Oh,
god.
at least he's not watching porn like Robert England was, though. Just walking in on him in his cowboy boots and tidy whities, He's like narrating porn. He's like, "Yeah, that's what you're gonna do now." And
Yeah,
It
he was
wasn't
yeah, that's
basically.
even-
hot.
It was like pedophile porn.
Yeah, I was
It was
like,
really
that?
weird. Yeah. It was, and the thing is, it was kind of like I don't know. Robert Englund can play Pervy the Clown pretty good because he's sitting there like, yeah, oh, then we touch those tits, yeah.
And I have Robert England's book and I have it and I've read it and he can talk, man, but he loves playing those types of characters. And it's like, so if you didn't know him as a person, like I would never speak to this man because he was so cringy in this movie. But I think it was good I think it was a good like I guess if you're going to watch him not as Freddy Krueger, I think it's a really good way to kind of be exposed to Freddy Krueger or Robert England in a different light. Because
It's like the opposite too, because in Freddy Krueger, the town goes after Robert Englund, Freddy, but this one he's like the main. He's like, let's
he's
go
the
get the
one
killer.
going,
yeah,
It was
yeah.
it was definitely a nice little interesting thing that they put him in. And that's why Robert England, because I bought the DVD and on the DVD they have production notes. Oh my god, and you just click through it and it's like the whole screen is like one little paragraph of the whole screen telling you things. And that's why Robert Englund wanted to do it because he was interested in that type of character. He thought it was really cool and he was like, okay, I could definitely do this. And then he also thought it was interesting that while Captain, so Dee Snider plays that body mod guy behind me. So if you're watching the video, that's what he looks like in there. And none of this is real. He doesn't have these tattoos. He doesn't have these piercings. He does have a septum piercing, but it's not that size gauge. So they put these special little things on it to make it look like it was bigger, but it's really not. And he was saying, or Robert Englund was saying in the production notes, was that he was really interested in playing a character that was going to be like victimized but not murdered. And he thought that was such a cool thing. Like, and no one is really, except for the girl, and she's not necessarily murdered. The friend in the beginning is not really murdered. Dee Snider doesn't kill anyone.
He kills Robert England's wife. That's like the only person. Oh, and I guess he kills Robert England. I'm not sure, but he kills Robert England's wife, and that's the only person he kills in the movie. I feel like.
Well, that's like the halfway point. That's when he like gets.
Well, that's after.
Yeah, he goes
Yeah.
after her because like basically he tried to the town Freddy Kruegered him. He went to go hang him by a tree, but he's like, "Joke's on you! I choke myself every night."
Yeah, and so the movie opens up, which is why I say it's such a time capsule because it opens up with two girls in a chat room talking to some guy, and they're gonna go meet him to party. Which is Linda Cardellini is one of them and her girlfriend, and then
he has Zima. I'm surprised they didn't ask if he had Zima.
I used to get Zima. I love Zima. Zima was good. They need to bring Zima back because whatever kind of carbonated shit they have now tastes like asshole. But anyways, like you know what I mean? Like it's not the same.
I'm not a big like hard seltzer person at all. I'm not a big fan of that.
I don't like hard seltzer. I'll drink it because of the calorie, but I don't think it tastes well. Like Zima tasted good. But anyways, so like lures the girls in and there's a lot of snippets in it. It's almost like a noir type film where the detective is her father and he's trying to find her. And then when he does find her, so let's talk a little bit about Captain Howdy.
Oh,
I wanted to see Captain Howdy with that like bull septum piercing they found in the car. Like I wanted to see that. And that thing was a monster, by the way. I couldn't imagine having that thing put in my nose ever.
And people do gauge their septum in and I've seen it. I've seen this.
That's just too
you
much.
have to
just
legit
one thing to have like gauges in your earlobes.
bones.
Yeah, like I mean, but like going through like cartilage and that's just no. I mean, people do it. That's fine. That's their lives. But I couldn't imagine having. You guys have like allergies and stuff there. Like it's got to ruin your sinuses. I feel like, but I don't. Again, I don't know.
You
Ugh.
stretch it over time. Like you've seen it where they have the big gauges in their nose. Like I've seen that. And it's amazing to me that people are like, I mean, how do you get a job?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
He,
Like, do you
he
see
could get a job
Captain?
at Spencer's.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
would you like go into Wells Fargo and get Captain Howard to be your personal loan manager? It's like, hey, let's see if we can get you some good rates. Meanwhile, I've got like 800 piercings on my face and a giant tribal tat on my face.
well, I mean, he could work at a tattoo shop, he could work at a smoke shop. Like there are jobs for these people, right?
Yeah,
But
Gas
my thing,
stations.
gas station, and that's the thing. Like, because I have a lot of tattoos, but you'll never see them because they're in
world needs
places.
ditch diggers aid. Okay.
Yeah, like, and that's one of the reasons I don't have them all over me because, and I could, but I just, I mean, for guys it's easier because you guys always have sleeves on, right? Like,
Sure.
I don't like to wear sleeves, and so on my shirts that I live in Florida, so like everything I have is on my torso and my back. So like you can never see it unless I show you. My thing is like, where do we draw the line? So we'll talk a little bit about um, some of the trivia when we're talking about this. So again, this is talking about the modern primitive subculture and its ethos of spiritual transcendence through painful rites. So these are basically white people. What is it? They are white people. What is it called? Where they're culturally appropriating indigenous cultures and doing these things to themselves, right?
This
Which
is
is
what Aaron
basically
Rodgers
what
is
he's
going to do in the
doing.
off season now. This is what Aaron Rodgers
Exactly.
instead of he ayahuasca last time. That's what he did last year. This year he's gonna be hanging from hooks in like some of the middle of the bumfuck Wyoming. Like that's what he's gonna be doing.
Exactly.
Well, you
Sorry,
clearly
Dan.
never been to Bar Sinister. Then they do hooks. They basically the whole club scene in this movie is Bar Sinister, except it just needs more piss spilling all over the floors and the urinals and people doing blow in the bathroom. So missed
Well,
that.
Well, I'm sure
they
people were doing
probably
blow in
were.
that bathroom.
I'm sure there was a lot of blow in that bathroom. This is before fentanyl, when you could do blow and be happy about it. Or if it wasn't a happy time, it was just cut with baby laxative and you shit yourself. Like you don't die from doing coke like you do now. Like this is
Those
a
were
simpler
the
time.
days.
Those were the days. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ian.
like the housewives are always like, I used to do cocaine to do the dishes and clean and do the laundry, and oh, it's great. Those were the days. Archie Bunker's
Stifle
wife.
yourselves. Stifle yourselves, please. So, but yeah, no. So Zizalba, when they went to Zizalba, that did remind me of Bar Sinister, especially when Doug's always talking about it. And we actually walked by it. We didn't. It wasn't open that night that we were there, which made me very sad. But next time we come to LA, we'll be going to Bar Sinister because I actually want to go to one of the and a lot of 90s, late 90s movies. Do you remember Stigmata? They had the same type of club. Like, where are those clubs now?
That's Bar
Even
Sinister. It hasn't changed. That club is a time capsule to Strangeland. It's the exact same club.
There's got to be a
that
goth bar in Orlando somewhere.
there well, I heard there's one like outside of downtown, and I don't live downtown, so I just don't. So
It's just Mickey Mouse girls with like a stock white and black stockings on with giant
They all
like
have Jack
ceiling
Skellington
fans. Yeah.
tattoos.
well, yeah, I hear there's like a BDSM bar like outside of Orlando. My friends actually just told me about it recently when they're in town. But I I'm never gonna get Dan to go there. Are you kidding me? I have to go by
Well,
myself.
Tell
I
them you're
mean,
going to a golf game. It's like, tricked you. Now you're gonna go get spanked and whipped.
like Dan, you like the Smiths, don't you? I'm sure they're just playing the Smiths on repeat the entire time.
He won't even do it unless it's on the bed. I can't even get him to leave the room. You think I'm going to get him to go there? Are you kidding me?
Tell them to come to Bar Sinister. I mean, well, fuck. I got spanked. My brother got spanked for 15 minutes, and the masochist got tired and said, "You need to leave."
I'll go get spanked. Like, that's not the point. Like, some people, I mean, I get it. Some people aren't into it, but I think that it's like, it's a really cool subculture, in my opinion. And I think that Strangeland does a very good job at, I don't think, I think that Strangeland, like what Jason was saying earlier, in my opinion, I feel like this film sort of, I guess, vilifies the internet and what it can do, but
Sure.
it doesn't vilify body modification or these clubs because when again with Dee Snider's speech at the end, people are afraid of what they're not used to. and they, you know, you could be the nicest person on the earth, but if you have a tattoo, like you're saying, you have a tattoo your face, and now you're the devil. Like, and I
Or a
think with the
SoundCloud rapper now.
Yeah,
ugh,
straight
what's
bussin'.
that? Where's that ugly fat guy's name?
Which one?
Maybe a little bit more specific. Post Malone.
Post Malone. Oh God, who? I would not fuck him. And I fucked some guys like D. Snyder, but not that guy.
Well, let me
He's
tell
not-
you, Post Malone, I thought, I'm like, who the fuck would listen to it? And I listened to the song and I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good song. And I'm like, who is this? It's Post Malone. And I'm like, holy shit, he sings, his songs are nothing like he looks.
No,
They're
he's
good.
not. It's not bad. It's not bad, but I don't listen to his music anyways, but he does a lot of covers that you wouldn't know, and when you hear it you're like, oh my God. But again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm guilty of what I'm accusing people of. I am judging you by your appearance and not by your substance, right? And so and then of course, you know, a lot of the other things in the film, like Captain Howdy that he took, we know who Captain Howdy is. We are a horror podcast. If you don't know who Captain Howdy is in this room,
Yeah, it's
you
what
can't talk
Damien's
to me.
nickname from The Omen, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, pretty much. It's got Susul. I thought, no, Pazuzu.
Pazuzu, and it's
Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy.
Oh, you.
You think my mom's pretty,
Captain Howdy.
Oh, Reagan. So,
Well,
Not wrong.
one thing about this movie too, I know we're going halfway through it, but it's weird because Captain Howdy, like he's sending now, do you see him as a villain? Like I know he doesn't kill anyone technically, but
He's totally a villain. You know, they try to flip it, but he's torturing people. And now, granted, he makes some points about being judged by his cover, but at the end of the day, he is kidnapping and torturing people.
he's
He's
luring them to his
absolutely,
house and torturing them
and even
against
if
their
he didn't
will.
exactly kill Linda Carlini's friend, he's absolutely responsible for her death. That's like, at the very least, it's manslaughter.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. Now again, he turned out relief not only of his pills, but as soon as he took those pills away, he went crazy again.
Oh, well, we haven't
Well,
even gotten to that point yet
Yeah.
because Abe, you said you were going to mention it. So the detective's daughter goes missing because she seeks out Captain Howdy's party advice. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the acting or if it was just how this, but this fucking detective is like, dude, I hope Captain Howdy kills you. I'm rooting for Captain Howdy now. This guy's a fucking piece of toast.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say that because the production notes from the DVD indicated that Dee Snider was very impressed by the detective's performance, who was played by. So there's a lot of people in this film that you guys will know now. Dee Snider plays Captain Howdy. Linda Cardellini, Genevieve, who's the girl on the cover whose face is sewn shut. We've got Kevin Gage as the detective, and he actually played a white supremacist in Heat. And Dee Snider saw him in Heat. I want to say Heat, whatever, one of those movies. He was a white supremacist, and Dee Snider was so impressed by him, he had to have him in this film. He didn't even have him read for the part.
He should have.
According to the production, this is according to the paragraphs I was reading on the DVD, and I had to keep clicking next. And Dan's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Don't you remember this?"
Yeah, that reminds me. I have the Bride of Chucky DVD, like the old Universal DVD, and it has the production notes like that, right? Use the clicker.
I know you're gonna read each little paragraph, and I go.
Are you looking around your DVD for Easter eggs? Like if you keep hitting your arrows, maybe it will be like some crazy thing will highlight and you'll go to some like deleted scene you couldn't see.
Oh,
something like give me something.
Yeah, I missed that. Actually, a weird. But if you guys have the Terror Firmer DVD, I know Aid likes Terror Firmer. But the coolest thing with that DVD is if you press 666 on your remote on the main menu, the R-rated version of Terror Firmer plays, and it's just Lloyd Kaufman reenacting the scenes. It's the full movie, but it's just Lloyd Kaufman going like, oh, like when someone's getting the fetus pulled out, it's just him with a garbage. Like it's hilarious. So this is a secret for you Terror Firmer DVD owners. I missed that too. What was it? That's DVD was kind of DVDs weren't even around in '98, I think, when this.
I think they were like, because I know Laserdisc was. I don't know if DVD had quite hit yet.
Laserdiscs were no, but DVDs were there. So it was between Laserdiscs and DVD. Remember?
Yeah.
And you had to like pick, but if you didn't have either player, it didn't matter. So
yeah. I was still rocking the VHS tapes.
Yeah, me too.
Point.
I don't think we finally got a DVD player. I think in the early 2000s, probably.
Yeah, I think I was like almost in high school by the time we got a DVD player.
There's DVD player slash VHS player. Because
Yeah.
we have all these VHS. Like, why would we not? In
Yeah.
fact, I think we still have, because Dan still has a fucking Blu-ray player from back in the day. It's bigger than a goddamn VCR. And I go, why is this alive in this house? Like, I don't even understand. But anyways, but Robert Englund is in there. Elizabeth Pena plays the mom. Apparently Barbara Crampton has a part in this.
I didn't notice her. She was in it.
I didn't catch her.
Where?
Was she
the Christian conservative lady?
Was that her?
Because her
Sonny
boobs show.
McIntosh?
Maybe that was because her boobs were perking. Like, this Christian conservative lady is.
I don't, because I know
boobs.
the reporter was the lady from the dentist too.
I don't know. I you know what? I was starting to look for her, but I was watching the movie and I forgot. But
the movie's too good to be looking for Barbara Crampton, right? You were
I
just
think
enthralled by how great this movie is, right?
I think she was the Karen lady. She was the Karen lady. Because
was that her poking her in the tits and shit?
yeah, because if it's Barbara Crampton, it's like, oh, we got to show boobs. So
sounds like it.
No, but she still look like that lady. That lady looks familiar, but I'm like, that kid, that's not her. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever, we'll find out later. So we have Barbara Crampton supposedly in it. I didn't. Oh no, I'm sorry. I can't read. Barbara Champion.
The who with the huh?
We'll just edit that part out, eh?
That's fine.
Pulling all that out. Okay,
yeah, nobody will know about that.
Keep it in because that's the winometer. Even we'll see how far we've chugged.
Oh my god, it's Thursday.
Eight has a 2-drink minimum for a podcast recording.
Keep that in. That's fucking funny stuff.
I got one more. No, I want one more drink, and then I have one more day until I have my vacation, which is the weekend. Anyways, we have Amy Smart as Angela Stravelli, and then we have Robert Englund, who is I guess the town. I don't even know what the fuck he is. Like,
he's like the good old boy. That's really what he is.
Yeah, he's like a proud boy in Colorado, and he was awful to his wife. He was just a very sleazy, disgusting character.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's like, bitch, go get me another beer. Like, kind of like that.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. But I would take my chances with Captain Howdy because at least he gave them catheters so they could piss themselves if they needed to.
I was like, what is this about? He's like, all you gotta do is put the bedpan like in the cage with him. But he was very polite. So I'm gonna give you a catheter so I can lead this piss all the way to this thing because you don't want me sitting in that.
Yeah, like he was very thoughtful.
So my thing
sweet
on this,
guy, that Captain Howdy.
So my thing with this is like once Captain, like the midway point, not even midway, it's like 25 minutes into the movie, they arrest the detective finds his daughter and they arrest Captain Howdy.
First they invade one house and it's actually an old man having sex with his wife.
Oh yeah,
because which is the biggest proof we all know that ACAB, for police officers invading houses, they would have shot up those old ladies. That old lady at that point. Because
Jason, they weren't black, so I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
Well, that's true.
I gotta take that out.
But yeah, he was
No, they would have shot him up. But the crazy thing is here, that's like a little Silence of the Lambs spoof. It's like, remember in Silence of the Lambs when they think they're going to Buffalo Bill's house and it's the wrong house, and this one is just like, oh, we open the door and it's two old couples fucking.
My pills.
I know my pills, but see if that comes around because he needs his pills later. But my thing is like, so Dee Snider was influenced to write this film on a couple of reasons. He wrote a child story about kids dying or something. I don't know. He said he had his kid and he was very fucked up by having his child, and he was very paranoid something would happen to his child. So he wrote this really fucked up children's tale. And then from there, this is from the production notes from the DVD. That is what I'm citing. So from there, he went and did all of the songs that he has for, I guess, Twisted Sister does an album on the Captain Howdy character. I don't know. I never heard it. Couldn't care less. Bless your heart, Dee Snider. Love you. Love you to death. And from there, he started this film. So he said that he wanted to write the film centered around characters, and he was inspired by Silence of the Lambs and Seven, which I'm like,
it certainly shows.
I'm like, Seven came out before this. That was my first question.
Did it? Well, see, the thing is here, like it could have had that effect. Now, if my thing was with it being 1998, because I did see this movie years and years ago, I recall there being more like wide angle lenses and more of that. Do you guys remember Colobos? I know you guys,
Yeah.
you and Mikey talked
Yeah.
about it on there, but the kind of like that weird camera shot where it's like the 90s kind of fringe. Carrie 2 had it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's
that look
very, yeah.
where it's
It's
like
an
everything looks
aesthetic.
like a Britney Spears music video, or it's hard to explain, but that was like the 90s. This one had like a weird made for TV thing where there was so many like fade in, fade out transitions. You know what I mean?
To me, this actually felt kind of like it felt like what it was. It felt like a direct to video movie. Now I know it had a small theatrical release, but I mean, it for all intents and purposes, I would say this is a direct to video movie. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing because I enjoy a lot of direct to video movies. I know they're not like fantastic movies, but I kind of enjoy that, at least that aesthetic. Like it reminded me of movies like Mikey or like the dentist movies. Are a lot of that I enjoy, a lot of fun. It reminded me of those kind of movies, but with like a late '90s new metal spin thrown on there. Um, and of course, Silence of the Lamb was a huge inspiration for this one. You can tell. It
Yeah.
just kind of seems like a guy was like, okay, I want to try this thing out. And it's obviously his first movie. Now he's a creative because he's in a band, but it's there's moments in this movie I do like, but it's still very much like a rookie movie. Like, okay, you got one in you. Let's see what you got anything else better. Because apparently he's actually directing a movie right now. I saw that recently when I was doing some research.
Hmm. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's very ambitious. Like you said, it's his first film. He's really try. I think he's trying. And yes, a lot of his speeches were quotes actually from, and I wrote this down somewhere. A lot of the shit that he was saying were actually quoted from Fakir Musafar, the father of the modern primitive movement. So it sounds really stupid when he's saying it because it's the way that he's saying it. Like, I don't think that Dee Snider necessarily is a good actor. Bless your heart, dear. You're not a good actor. Like, you could have been saying it in a different way, but he was preachy, and I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know because there's not a lot of research on this film, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He sounds kind of like an undergrad philosophy student half the time. Who just kind of keeps like, oh, everything I say is so deep and it's got so much meaning, you know.
and he when he says that he's gotta say it in the air like this, I'm like,
He's always
shut the
twisting and he's twisting his head back and forth the entire time. And it's just
I
like,
bet
yeah,
I bet Captain Howdy would have a hell of a time on 4chan now.
oh
It's
gosh.
really
Well,
what it
but
is.
that's what I'm thinking. Like, he's being very theatrical. He's being very, it's not the aesthetic of this character. Like, if you're gonna play, I honestly would really love if they remade this film and did it right. Okay, you could set it back in the '90s and still use chat rooms and shit. But my thing is like, how stupid are these cops? Like, the father knew the whole time. Even the niece was saying, "Oh, well, we go on chat rooms, we meet guys," and then only after how many days he finally starts looking at the internet. And
He's
I'm
like after
like,
2 days or something. It's like, well,
that should have been your first fucking clue. Like, get the fuck on the internet and find out what the fuck she was doing before she left. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand, but again, this was the time. I don't know if people really thought that. I don't know. Like, I
It's
mean,
or like when his daughter Kate didn't come home the next night, it was like, oh, okay, she's fine. She didn't come home last night. Everything's fine. Who
it's
cares?
probably with a friend. Now the wife was weird too. Like there's a scene later on when like they get saved and the daughter's like PTSD and a nightmare, but the mom's fucking laughing at the daughter. Did you catch that
yeah,
or was it just me?
I didn't see that, but I mean, and
it was a weird dynamic because the mom knew that the father doesn't give a shit, or she was saying that he's just a robot, and
it was like so they kept making a big deal about like I guess you didn't tell your mom that I did this. Were they talking about he had sex with Linda Cardellini's character? Is that what the whole mystery was at some point? They kept like alluding to it. Um
No, he says it at the end. He's like, "This is how your daughter felt when I was inside of her."
yeah, and when he's giving that guy a Prince Albert, he's like, I've got one too. I don't get any complaints. And he looks over at Linda Cardellini. I was like, oh, okay, so I guess they had sex. I don't know.
no, I think he was penetrating her via needles and things of that nature.
Oh,
Okay. I don't I just I
That's what I was taking it from. Because do you remember? I haven't seen it yet, but there's a movie with Richard Brake. It's basically the same thing where he kidnaps a girl, and he
It's the
he's
tattooist,
not,
I think, right?
yeah, the tattoo. He just tattoos her from head to toe. He modifies her entire body, but he's still violating her. He's still penetrating her.
Sure. Yeah.
But not with his penis, but with needles. So that's what, but that's the thing, is that this movie doesn't know how to differentiate or to articulate this well enough.
Yeah.
And that's where it falls flat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, there's so many good things about this movie, and so many things that it could have done better, but it doesn't, right? So,
or like when he's like I guess when he's got all these people in his house that he's just torturing, is he letting them go or is he just killing them? He doesn't seem to really kill anybody. He just sort of tortures them a little bit.
yeah, so apparently he kidnapped all those kids. The only one who dies is Linda Cardellini's friend, because remember, they find her in the trunk, and they even say, well, he didn't do anything really to her. He Nothing to kill her, but she had a congenital heart defect.
Yeah.
So because of that, she had a heart attack when and they're like, she's being tortured. Now, yes, they're being tortured, but I'm not saying that they're not being tortured. They are.
Yeah.
People pay good money on Craigslist for stuff like this.
That's what I'm saying. Getting pierced, it hurts, but it's not.
Well, he is sewing their mouths shut.
Oh yeah, that would suck, I guess.
Yeah. And or he's keeping that one guy, Prince Albert, against his will. I mean, that's going to be very uncomfortable.
I would assume. I don't have a penis.
I don't either. But it doesn't look very pleasant. I haven't seen any in person,
It
but
wasn't
I've seen
even a prince. Was it a prince? I don't know what he called it. It was something that was right between.
Yeah, it was in the head of the penis. I don't know, and he was like, "Oh, if I get this, then it's really gonna bleed." Okay,
it bleeds so bad and it's so spongy.
And he was like, "Women in Borneo won't even have sex with somebody who doesn't have this piercing." I was like, "Well, I'm not in Borneo, bud."
Oh, I wonder what that would feel like. Anyways.
I would never get my dick not tattooed. Well, I wouldn't get my dick tattooed.
I was about to say, but you would get it tattooed? Okay.
Yeah, this way up.
I mean, I knew a guy who had a piercing, but people say that if you get a piercing on it, like, you don't feel anything.
I guess it's kind of fleshy, but I don't have any piercings or tattoos, so I don't have any, I don't know. But
or no, like once you do that, it takes away the feeling out of your thing.
Okay. Oh, I bet if you get your dick pierced, yeah, that's like
and girls say the same thing if they get their clit pierced, like they lose their.
You lose your feeling. I mean,
then why do
it?
I don't
then
know.
Why do
I'm not having anybody pierce my clit. I'm good. Like, I don't like piercing. I will get tattoos all day long. I hate piercings.
So you don't want to have like the snake bites in the cheeks. You don't want to have any of those, or
no? I have my ears pierced. I got them done when I was a month old, so I don't even remember. My mom took me to get them done when I was a baby.
Jeez.
And then I have my belly button pierced, and that took forever to heal. Like, I could squeeze it, and like all this pus that comes.
I remember
so
when girls in high school would get there, and that would always happen to them. They would always be in class, like, watch, and they would just squeeze it.
We used to call it the jizz, and it would just like flap.
Well, Yahira's sister, when it was the weirdest thing. She pierced the side of her rib, and I'm like, why would you pierce that with the long piece? And for the longest time, it wouldn't heal. And I thought for a second her intestines were falling out. Like, that's what it looked like. Like, you could see it was so bad. I would never pierce the side of my stomach.
You could do dermals and stuff like that. Dermals, like, your body eventually rejects it. So that's why people lose their piercings over time. Like, I can even feel my belly button here. I still have it because I feel like I need it because it makes me look thinner. I don't know why. But like, my body's rejecting it. Eventually, it's just going to push itself out and be gone. So that's the same thing with Yahira's sister's rib, and it's going to be the same thing. Like, your body kind of pushes it out, right? Like, that's why you're. I don't know. I'm not big into piercings, and so when I'm watching him do the piercings, I'm like,
when he pierces his forearm, but he's at least got his gloves on, so he doesn't want to get infection. So he's a very nice guy. He's very conscientious.
I thought he was doing that so
he is.
Get his Cheeto stained fingers on the keyboard.
He's got fucking surgical gloves on. Like, motherfucker, you got all these kids strung up in them. And that's the thing too, because it's like, okay, some people are into that. Like, you're into the BDSM, so you're into that. Like, I mean, some of it didn't look too bad. Like, I felt like there was one or two of them having a good time, but like, like putting her in the cage and then having all the catheters. And then one of the best parts was when he grabbed the bedpan and slaps him over the face. Just with all the
And-
piss in it.
Is that
And that's-
piss slap? Like,
and that stopped him. And he's like, I don't feel pain, and I want to die, and that's the secret to living, is that when you want to die, you feel no pain. And then the detective just splashes him with the piss, and he's like, and he, like,
and he
what?
just puts that sock in his mouth. Like, oh, where's that sock being? Whose sock is this?
And I hate that. I hate it when people in movies put stuff in people's mouths to just quiet them, because I'm like, you can't just like spit it out of your mouth.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
was always
can't-
thinking too.
Why wouldn't you just spit it out and just start talking again? Like, why are you like, oh, I can't talk anymore? Like, just spit it the fuck out and speak. I don't understand that.
It's like Captain Howdy, we know it's killing you not to speak right now. Just spit that sock out.
I
Like,
know.
or
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they they're at that Zabal booth for the first time and that band's playing that awful song, it was like a pretty boy with a gun. Oh god! And then he's like in the
It's
back.
on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Pretty
Oh, I
boy.
googled it. I listened to it. It's bad. The band's name is Bile. I was like, ugh, okay.
Like that soundtrack. So I don't know. Well, finish your thought, because we're gonna have to delve into the soundtrack. After
yeah.
this.
When that guy was like, he was like hanging from chains in the back of Zabal, and that guy like wakes him up or something, was like, I was dying, and he like almost like he starts beating that guy up. I was like, what is going on here?
I was transcending, and you stopped me, you piece of shit. And he just like, so he's like, I'm sorry, master. And he's like getting slapped and beat the shit out of.
You're lucky
Like,
I don't
I
have a
thought that's what
piss
you would've
bucket
liked.
today.
Yeah. What the? So he's got a cult following, you know?
But yeah, I guess again that was like the modern primitive. I don't know. Like he wanted to be on the verge of death, and it sort of reminded me of Martyrs in a way too. But Martyrs comes after this. My thing is that there's a lot of good ideas that he has, but nothing is ever really fully fleshed out or we understand it enough, and that's the problem. I mean, it's a good movie. It's a good '90s movie. It's a good new metal movie. Like, I don't expect a lot from The Queen of the Damned. I fucking love that movie, but I know I'm not going to expect like scholarly things from it, right? So it is. I accept it for what it is. My thing is with this one is that there's so much culture to be highlighted, especially with what he's trying to convey. And they give him these, or he wrote this. He has these stupid fucking lines. He delivers them horribly. It sort of vilifies people who look like that, because I know what they're trying to say at the end of the day, because remember, he's rehabilitated. They let him go
for like 5 minutes. He's rehabilitated.
Yeah, and the only thing that rehabilitated him were the pills. Like, it wasn't him.
It was hilarious. So like as soon as he like gets off the plane, or not, when he falls off from being hanged, like within 5 minutes he's like shaved his head, dyed it, all his tattoos and his piercings are back. And I was like, that was quick. And he's out murdering people again.
He's like, what a rush.
What a rush.
He
Like,
looks
I
like
choke myself every
yeah,
day.
and he looks exactly like the trickster from Brain Scan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little reference for you. Well, the
Yeah.
funny thing is, I thought he looked scarier as the Ned Flanders looking motherfucker. So
Oh
like
my God, how
he's wearing
creepy was that?
yeah, he's wearing like, he looks like Marilyn Manson, like in if he dressed up like a church guy. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I have been rehabilitated, and I see the light at the end of the rainbow. What a beautiful town this is! It is beautiful.
And speaking of Marilyn Manson, he is also on the soundtrack.
He is. He is. I know. I don't think we're allowed to talk about him anymore, but yes, he is there. And that's the thing. It's like Marilyn Manson is so iconic for that time. Like, to not have or not be able to speak about him, I think it just sucks. Like, be a better person. But anyways, I don't even know what's going on with that. I'm gonna cut this out because he's not convicted of anything yet. So we're cutting all of that out. But yeah, Marilyn Manson's on the soundtrack. And so like I think it's like the movie tries too hard to be so alternative, because you remember, and Jason, I only talked to Jason. Doug, I'm not excluding you.
Oh no,
But Jason and I are a little bit older, so we remember this a little bit better. But do you remember being that age when Marilyn Manson was like the big thing, and it was such a controversy?
Oh yeah, he was
Like,
absolutely like the scariest thing ever.
Oh my God.
And the only thing he was doing was saying the Alice Cooper did in the 70s or Twisted Sister did in the 80s. It's just shock rock. He's just saying everything he could to get a rise out of, middle America, which worked. Like, I mean, Eminem, and then after that, Eminem did the same thing. And then I guess now it's like some of these like hardcore sort of metal bands. I'm not, or like horror bands, I guess. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I guess
but it's
Ice
going to
Nine
be,
Kills is upsetting the masses.
yeah, exactly. But see, it's a little bit different because bands aren't quite in the zeitgeist that they used to be in the 90s. Like, you can't really be a Marilyn Manson type where you're upsetting everybody now because there's
Yeah.
just so much everywhere. Because it's just music. Nobody's going to sell a million. It's hard for anybody to even sell a million records now. Like, it's just how it is. And nobody cares about music. And everybody goes on like immediately. Like, it's the flavor of the week now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be like a big shock to have these kind of cultural zeitgeist like rock bands had back in those days. Like Foo Fighters maybe do it, but they've been a band since the 90s. I guess
Yeah.
Metallica's new record will probably be huge, but that's just because it's Metallica. Like,
Yeah, and even Metallica, I think, has seen their day. Because like, my thing is like I've never been a Metallica fan. Like I love metal, but Metallica, I always feel it's just never cared for it. So
no.
it's like, we actually had tickets. Dan paid all this money for tickets years ago to go see them, but the only reason we were going was because Avenged Sevenfold was playing right before them. And then after they were finished, Dan's like, "I'm ready to go home." And we had just got Stella, and I was like, "Fuck it, I don't give a fuck. I don't need to see Metallica. I'm good. Like I know all their songs. I've heard them in the radio 50,000 times. I see what's his face running around downtown Rodeo Drive, and my thing is like, yes, I want you to be successful, but it is so not metal to be running down Rodeo Drive with a Chanel bag hanging on your shoulder. Like, come on.
He was
Like,
Coco before Chanel.
at least stop being an idiot. Come on, Hetfield. Anyways, so my thing is like it just that's the problem with this movie. So I really feel like if we took it back, if we took a step back and tried to like maybe isolate some of the things that made the 90s the 90s, like this would be the perfect movie. I don't think it's bad. I like and I love the soundtrack. It's soundtrack is horrible, but Head PE's on it. We got Head PE, we got
Coal
Megadeth.
Chamber,
And you,
Pantera before they were racist.
well, hey, do you have the CD in your car? How long have you had that CD for?
So I stole the CD, and everyone should know this. I stole the CD from my ex-husband like 10 years ago. And I put it in the car and I never gave it back. Like, this is the one thing I'm gonna take from the divorce. I mean, he's got a bunch of shit in mind. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of our horror stuff he kept.
So you think he's gonna message you
sure.
after this one and say, "Hey, Aid, I need my Strangeland soundtrack CD back."
It doesn't.
Yeah, did I tell you I physically ran into him on Saturday?
Didn't you say he got fat?
Yeah, oh, he's fat as fuck. Maybe it looks like his eye looks amazing. I was like,
oh wow.
You go ahead and get fat, dear. And here's your Strangeland CD back. It's a little scratched.
You're gonna pay for that in the alimony payment.
Hopefully, you've still got Spotify.
I know, but I'm thinking to myself, like, I never listened to it until we were doing this episode this week, and I go, "This is horrible."
Dude, soundtracks used to be big business back in the day. I remember I've got like there was a band, I was a grunge band they're talking about. Like, yeah, they paid me $200,000 to do one song for a compilation CD for singles. Y'all remember that movie with Matt Dillon and Bridget Fonda?
I remember that.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember I got this, and the guy from Mudhoney was like, literally, the label in the studio said that we will give you $200,000 to do one song for this album, and he was like, that paid for my house. That one song paid for my house.
They can't pay for your house nowadays.
No,
No,
certainly not in Seattle.
Not anywhere. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Oh my god. Well, maybe in the sticks, but like I just think it's just amazing, like how music was so intrinsic towards filmmaking, especially in the 90s. That type of rock music or grunge or whatever it was, or new metal was so important. Like Jonathan Davis having this entire soundtrack built around Queen of the Damned. And I only go back to that because it's like my biggest example I can think of. But even Creed with Halloween H2O.
Or Freddy versus Jason soundtrack. Remember that was huge.
Yes. And those were the bands. And like that's what I was saying. Like all of these films are such like good time capsules because I love that music. I will still go listen to that music. I don't care. I have a lot of new metal on my running soundtrack or my running playlist when I go running, so I don't care.
Yeah, even movies that didn't even need a soundtrack, like in the 90s, like they were like, oh, soundtracks are the biggest thing. Because I remember my dad used to play the Cool World soundtrack, and it had like Ministry on there. It had like club music, uh Pet Shop Boys. I'm like, holy shit, they just threw everything in the kitchen singing these compilation soundtracks.
Yeah, and we're not going to get that again. And so that's why I think I was really happy that Cam had suggested Strangeland because, and mind you, I remember nothing. I have seen this movie before because, again, it's one of my ex-husband's favorite movies. So I know I'd seen it. I watched it with him, but and I stole the soundtrack from him. But I never really like when I rewatched it yesterday. I was like, I don't remember any of this. Like, what the fuck happened? So it wasn't one of those that I put on repeat, but I knew that I liked it when I'd seen it, and so it was just one of those things. Like, and if you think back, the only competition that month that would have done anything to its detriment was Bride of Chucky,
Which was
which,
big at the time. I remember that.
Sure.
oh
Yeah.
my god, we watched Bride of Chucky when it came out. My friends bootlegged it.
It was on television all the time too.
Yeah, so good. That's like my favorite movie. And John Carpenter's Vampires, which my mom took me to the movie theater to go see. So like I saw
This thing called the priest a cocksucker in that movie.
Yes. My mom loved it. She took me to see all this shit. So, I guess she wanted to see James Woods. Who knows?
Hey,
And
man,
then, of course, there was a Phantasm for Oblivion, but I haven't
Ugh,
seen. I've
it's
only
not a
seen
good
part
one.
one. I've never seen all of them.
Phantasm 2 is really good. Part 4 is not good.
Um, but yeah, no, the rest of the year we had Ringu, we had The Faculty, Deep Rising, Halloween H2O, Phantom Sphere. Speaking of Halloween H2O, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Disturbing Behavior, App Pupil, Psycho Remake, Children of the Corn Part 5 with Ava Mendes. Sometimes They Come Back, Species 2, Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, Practical Magic, Blade, Fallen, and Hush. So 98 was a hodgepodge of a mess. If we're going to talk about our genre. So having Strangeland, I don't think was that big of a stretch.
Well, it probably made its money at Blockbuster because I strongly remember seeing this
Sure.
everywhere at all the
Yeah,
Blockbusters.
I remember it was all over all the video stores I went to.
Yeah.
This movie, it's a tease. It's not a good movie. I don't think anybody's really accusing it of being a good movie. They just say it's kind of a fun movie, and I got some enjoyment out of it for sure. But it's certainly like somebody should have helped D. Snyder write this movie, and they probably should have given his role to somebody else too. Now he did look big and intimidating for his role. I mean, that part worked, the size, but as far as the acting was a bit, he just wasn't there yet. And also when they burned him in the final, that was clearly somebody in like a fat suit. That was pretty hilarious.
That was pretty bad, yeah.
All
Well,
right.
Doug, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. Like I said, I seen this years ago. I think on VHS. I remember it involved, but for some reason I remember it being much more like Colobos or like that '90s wide angle lens where it looked like Carrie 2. Like it's just that look, and when I watched it, I'm like, this is kind of this. I would be fooled that this wasn't a '98 movie. It felt like something that would be on TV because of those weird transitions or the generic transitions that it uses. I wish it was more of a time capsule where it was stuck in the '90s. Like it had that look. It had that. It's hard to explain like a '90s music video like that. Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I recommend it to people, especially if you want to see D. Snyder. Quote soliloquies constantly and say, I was transitioning.
Rocking his fucking head around. I know, bless his heart. Like he tried. He was very ambitious with this. And I really think that he's really proud of it. I don't know. I haven't talked to I don't know D. Snyder, but I assume he's very proud of this movie. So my thing is, yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, well, if anything comes from this movie, I mean the poster is pretty iconic because, like I said, that poster, I'm sure a lot of people have memories of seeing this poster and kind of scaring them.
Oh, for sure.
That poster was horrifying. Like in fact, it was one of the reasons I never picked it up because I thought it was so scary. And I think that the idea of kidnapping children. As a high school teacher, these kids are my kids, right? My kids being kidnapped and tortured this way, I think would,
Sure.
obviously gets to me as an adult. But as far as like the aesthetic, I remember I thought it was more, I guess I thought it was more gore. Like there was more gore with this
Yeah.
film, but there really isn't. They cut away from a lot of the penetration shots. So when you want to see anybody getting really stuck with anything, they always cut away. And it's always the same shot shown again if it does go into the skin. So they had a budget, but they didn't use the budget for the effects. And I think that's the issue. Like you're gonna have this kind of movie, you've got to see the gore. This could have been a really good torture porn, but it teeters on that, in my opinion.
Sure.
Teeters on that. So whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're coming up at the end of the hour. And I know you have a baby, Jason. So we gotta give it.
I gotta go. This is bedtime. I gotta put him to bed.
So Doug, where can we get our page? Well, thank you, Cam, for being our Patreon member. But if you want to be a Patreon member, Doug, where can we go?
Okay, you can go to Slashers Podcast at Patreon. There's different tiers there. You can join us, and you can do it like when we do months like this, where we do Patreon recommendations. You'll get called out here. We'll do an episode for you and do a whole movie. I think this episode's like an hour and a half too. Feels like it. But there you go, Cam. We did Strangeland, and I hope it fanned your nuts or flicked your bean to the enjoyment of like, they're talking about Strangeland. Oh, I'm hot and bothered.
Bask in the glory of
Bask in the
slashers glory.
Yeah. But so check it out, and then we have a Redbubble as well too. So
And
buy
Jason,
merch.
where's our Redbubble?
It's going to be Redbubble or www.redbubble.com/slasherspod. And it's really all Slasherspod. Apparently, Jay was talking about last time. I was like, I got in early on Slasherspod. It's just everything.
Yeah, there's so much on there. So whatever you guys want, whatever kind of designs you like go on there and see what you want. Like we got leggings, we got skirts, we got clocks, we got bedspreads. I mean, we just opened it up.
Captain Howdy tattoos, Captain Howdy piercings, you name it.
Yeah,
Prince
Slashers
Albert's
Podcast butter.
Alberts,
we
got clit piercings, we got it all. We got
Yeah.
Put the good show on anything. So have a good time with that. But yeah, no, we have a lot going on, and Trash Juice is now streaming on Amazon. So if you guys want to watch Trash Juice, it's Doug's cinematic masterpiece
with all the goons here. Yeah.
And all of us are in it. So I think it's like a really good fun thing to like be able to see streaming on any platform. So if you guys want to go ahead and rent that, please do so. Like support Doug, support Friday Night Action with Doug, support Saturday Terrors with Jake or Yahira, or Grandpa Oats Cinnamon Wood Chipper, and these are all available on B Movie TV on Roku. So if you have a Roku, go ahead and get your B Movie TV going and fan your nuts to that. So with that, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, but I will have to say goodbye and good day.